All right. Happy Sunday, everyone. And welcome to another edition of the Sunday Night Weekly Devotional. It is me flying solo tonight, but it's been quite a few weeks since we have done a devotional. So wanted to jump on here and kind of give a quick recap here of our Colorado elk hunt, which was an awesome experience. So wanted to recap that real quick, and then also wanted to jump in to a couple passages and really just share some of the thoughts I had from our message today at church. Hopefully it'll resonate with you, and please let me know if you're there, if you're here with me tonight, looking for some company. So I see 2 people have joined. So just comment if you have joined in and let me know that you're here. It's good to be back. One of the things that I did get from Colorado instead of an elk was a beard. So I got a beard from Colorado, which will hopefully be staying for the fall. Who knows how long that'll be, but just happy to be back. So Dave is a little bit under the weather tonight. And so we pray he gets better soon, but he's been out a couple times for whitetail already. Pennsylvania's kicked off. Still waiting to do that here in Texas. And Nate is who knows where. I think he might be traveling back to Tennessee at this point. He was up this past week. And we got to get Nate on here to share some of his early season success in Tennessee. So we'll be doing that again soon. And I'm going to do a full podcast on my elk hunt. So we're going to do we're going to do probably a couple videos and a podcast on it so I can break down the entire hunt for you guys. And of course, my lovely wife sitting in the next room, always faithful fan, listening live right now. So I got my actual pup is sitting here, Charlie. He's I think 5 months yesterday, and he's chilling out with an antler. If you haven't discovered the antler phenomenon for dogs and you have a dog, it lasts a long time. So I'd highly recommend it. But anyhow, hopefully he chills and we can get through this. But real quick, just on the elk hunt, it was an amazing trip. Learned a lot, learned a ton. I guess the unfortunate part was that the elk were not bugling during that week that I was there. And it just happens. It's hunting. It's part of it. But they were not bugling, so that was a little disappointing. I think I might have heard a couple bugles, but we're not even sure because we saw a lot of hunters, and it could have very well been other hunters. We know for a fact there was definitely one time that we were calling in hunters and they thought we were calling in them. So, or they thought they were calling in us. So anyhow, a lot of hunters. There was a muzzleloader season going on out there also. So saw a lot of orange and put on a lot of miles. I mean, we hiked over 50 miles in 6 days. And hey, Dylan, thanks for joining me tonight, man. Good to have you with me. The one thing I'll say is the body did hold up, which was something I was not sure about. I am 43 now and worked hard to get ready for the hunt, but was pleasantly surprised. We put on a lot of miles and had some soreness, things like that. But it was all in all, it was an awesome trip. Success other than the fact that I didn't get an elk. I did, however, see my first bull elk the Friday morning that we left. An elk came out of a draw about 200 yards off, went into a patch of timber. We had awesome wind. We ended up getting down, and we got into close to his bedroom. We're pretty sure, but again, they weren't responding to calls. At least at that point, I don't know what's going on out there right now, but at least they weren't then. So that didn't help. But awesome trip. I took a lot of video. Took a lot of photos. We're going to put together some sort of a film around it, and we'll get that out to show you guys the whole entire trip. But all in all, it was a good trip, and I learned a lot. I would do it again for sure. The one thing I would probably do differently that I didn't do enough of is just take time to kind of sit down. We hiked a lot, and we just went. And we were going constantly looking for elk because they didn't respond. And so we were looking for them. But I would definitely take some more time, probably in prayer, and just spend more time just kind of enjoying being out in Colorado. What an awesome place. And if you've never been out west, that was my first time ever out west. Just incredible views, and just taking more time for myself. But other than that, it was awesome. I'd do it again, maybe in a couple years, who knows? And, we'll change up a couple things, but again, we'll do like a video or a podcast on that. So one of the things, or something I just want to kind of share tonight real quick. We won't make it a long one tonight because it's just me. But today our message in church really resonated, I think, with a lot of people. And our pastor talked about enemies. And, I made a joke when I posted the title to this tonight, and I said something like, if you don't have any enemies, then don't join, or you've never had an enemy, don't join. I think we've all had some sort of an enemy at some point. And, whether it's through work or, some sort of a relationship or whatever, I think we could safely say that every one of us at some point of our lives has had something close to an enemy. And I think the message really resonated because of such a divide that we have in our country right now. And the simple question was, do you have enemies? And of course, at some point in our lives, we've had that. Not to talk politics tonight, because I don't want to talk politics, but obviously the election's coming up, and so that creates, in normal circumstances, creates this divide, this political divide. Either you're Democrat or you're Republican, and there's this divide around the country, and it's just common right now. It's like the norm. It's become the norm, right? You're either on one side or you're on another. And the unfortunate part is, social media has not helped with that at all. It's unfortunate. I mean, social media can be a great thing. Obviously, we're on here tonight, and hopefully the message will help somebody. But social media can really be damaging also. And, there's an agenda behind people's posts. It's like, one person posts and the next person defends their side, and then the next person defends it. Before you know it, there's 50 to 100 comments about one small thing that was posted. And at least for me, I've tried to disconnect from it as much as possible. I'm on social media because of Rooted, and also because of our business. It can be a great tool for business. And so that's how we also communicate with our business community. But man, it has just been a challenge to find anything useful, really, on social media. And quite honestly, I really haven't been posting a ton of stuff where I would normally post, because I honestly don't even like to go on because I'm afraid of what I'm going to see and just how it's going to change my mood. So I haven't been doing a lot of posting and things like that, kind of bare minimum. So there's social media, right? And so social media has helped, unfortunately, create this huge divide. And we're at a time in our country where, there's just not a lot of folks open to other people's opinions, and our pastor talked about it today. And he said, back in the day, years and years ago, you'd have a Republican and a Democrat presidential candidate, and they would have disagreements, and then they would go out for a drink afterwards or something like that, And so it just doesn't happen now. There's just such hate in the world right now. And it's just it's a problem. It's a heart problem. We talk about that a lot. There's a lack of love, and we need more. We need more of that. We need more Jesus. That's for sure. The news also, the news is just, again, I don't watch the news. I don't really care what's on the news. I'm not, in my opinion, going to learn anything that's going to really help me. I'm not going to learn anything new because it's the same old thing every single day. And I'm sure a lot of you know this, but the news is not, it is not, there's money behind the news, right? And so they're always looking for the story that really can get the most attraction, right? And a lot of times it is a negative type of story or something that is going to spark controversy or whatever it might be. But there is absolutely an agenda behind the media. I mean, all of the major news stations are owned by investors that invest dollars, and they're looking to make a return, and the best story makes the return for them. And so they are not out to give you information that they don't care. Let's just say that they don't care to give you the best information possible, so that you can make the best decisions. Let's just say that they're just not there to do that. So it's, again, another unfortunate piece of the puzzle right now in our world is the news. The other thing too is that there's just no middle ground. I kind of mentioned that a little bit. There's no middle ground right now in anything. It's either one side or it's another. You're either a Democrat or you're Republican, or you're racist or you're not, or whatever it might be. It's just this huge divide that is just tearing the country apart, really, and dividing the country. There he is, my dude. Hope you're feeling well, man. Hate and divide is certainly a hard issue. The only cure is Jesus. Yeah, I mean, it truly is, man. And we talk about that a lot. Thinking through a lot of the message and stuff today from church. And by the way, we were, I know a lot of you guys are probably back already, but it was our first time really back with our church today. I was serving. I was running cameras, but it was, I got to serve 2 services and see folks worship together that haven't worshiped together since some of them since June. And so it was an amazing day to be with those folks and to get to worship again in our church. So good to be back with those folks. I think one of the things that was really resonating with me too is that Jesus had his enemies too, and not by choice, right? So he didn't have enemies by choice, but he was hated by so many and persecuted by so many. And the most amazing thing is that when Jesus was crucified, he forgave all of those enemies. He forgave them. And in fact, he prayed for them, right? That they would find salvation also. That's just an amazing thing if you think about it. You think about, not that there's not, reasons to have disagreements with folks and things like that, but to have just so much hate going on in the world right now. Think of what Jesus did, when he died on the cross, and he just forgave all his enemies and he didn't choose to hate them. They hated him for what he did. I'm going to read two passages from Matthew. The first one is Matthew chapter 5 and verse 21 and 22. And the gist of it is that Jesus says, don't murder as law, but if we think of murdering as a spirit. So like the difference between murdering by law, murdering as a thought, as a spirit. So I'm going to read passage 5, 21 through 22. So it says, you have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not murder, and whoever murders will be liable to judgment. But I say to you, everyone who is angry with his brothers will be liable to judgment. Whoever insults his brother will be liable to the council, and whoever says, you fool, will be liable to hell fire. So what we were talking about today and the message is that, it's not just the act of murdering someone, it's the thought of wanting somebody, in fact, dead, right? I mean, I hate to think, but I think about so many people have thought of that, especially recently, of others just not wanting them around or not wanting them on this earth for a political belief or, whatever it might be. And it's just, Jesus teaches us to to not do that, obviously. The second one is Matthew 5, and Matthew 5 also 43 and 47. I'll read it, and then I'll just give a couple comments on it. 43 through 47. All right. So it says, "You have heard that it was said, 'You shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy.' But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be sons of your Father who is in heaven. For he makes his sun rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the just and on the unjust. For if you love those who love you, what reward do you have? Do not even tax collectors do the same? And if you greet only your brothers, what more are you doing than others? Do not even the Gentiles do the same? You therefore must be perfect, and your heavenly Father is perfect." Okay, so a couple things. So one of the things that a couple of things that we can do to kind of not surround ourselves with all the hate in the world is social media, and the other one is the news, right? So those are the two biggies. But it says to love our enemies, and sometimes that's really tough. Enemy is such a powerful word. It's such just a really direct word, right? But it's true. If we think like that, those are truly enemies. The best thing that we can do really is to love our enemies. And that doesn't mean we need to agree with them. That doesn't mean that at all. In fact, we all have a political opinion, right? And that's okay. I mean, that's good. You should speak your mind and be able to defend your political views. But we need to love those that we don't agree with also, because a lot of times they're trying to love us also, if you think about it. And it's just, it'll help. It'll help us. It'll help our hearts. Wish them good, right? So just wish them good, like pray for them. That I think is the biggest thing that we can do heading into this, this unprecedented political election. I mean, it's just, 4 years ago, it was a difficult election to go through, a lot of hate, a lot of divide, things like that. But this one's even worse. And so the world needs us to pray for, it doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on, to pray for the one that doesn't have the same views that you do, and pray for those. Pray that, pray that they will not necessarily see your view, because I think a lot of times we say, well, we would pray, like our pastor was joking around today. He said, when we say pray for our enemies, it doesn't mean pray that they would be gone, right? Or pray that they would think of the way we think. Like, that's not necessarily what we need to do, right? We just need to pray for them. And whatever their views are, that those views serve them, right? And that kind of thing. So, pray for them first. The thing that the hate that we struggle with right now, it's really hard to hate somebody that you're praying for. If you've ever prayed for an enemy, or prayed for somebody that you had a disagreement with, or somebody that really hurt you, somebody that maybe you had a tough time forgiving, if you pray for that person, I guarantee you, your mindset changes and your heart changes, and it makes it impossible to hate that person if you're praying for their goodwill, and you're praying for their, them to be happy and healthy. And, God loved his enemies, even though they persecuted him and crucified him. Like, he loved his enemies. And that's just, it's tough to even digest that, but we're human beings, and, we're sinners, and we're not God, but we can still pray as he would want us to pray for our enemies. Dave says, anyone who hates a brother or sister is murder. John 1. Yep. How many of us are guilty of this during this season of life? We as believers need to be better and lead the way. That's so true. That's so true. And that's really the idea of it, is we need to show our love as Christians, like show love, and pray for others, and make people wonder why we do that. It's part of what we need to do. And Dave also says, hard to hate someone you're praying for. Yeah, I mean, it is. Try it this week. That would be the challenge. Think of somebody that, maybe you had some real battles with, and I don't necessarily mean political, but it could be anything, some real battles with, and you're just having a really tough time. You're struggling right now because maybe their views are so far on the other end that you can't even imagine why they would think the way they think. But try and pray for them and see how you feel at the end of the week. And I challenge you, and I encourage you also to reach out to us, send us messages, and go, you know what, I tried that, and this is what happened. That's all part of us obviously building this community. You have to want to, though. You have to want to exchange this hate that you might have, or that we might have, for love. You've got to choose that. You got to be intentional about it, and you've got to pray about it. And again, that's something I would encourage you all to do. The thing is, if you've been hurt by someone, or again, if it's somebody you just can't see eye to eye with, and you consider them your enemy, and you hate, there's a hate potentially there, you can't do it by yourself. You need the Lord, and only He can help you through that. And that's why it's so important that use His strength, not your own, not your human strength, God's strength to think differently and to pray and to really feel Him work as you do that. So again, challenge you to do that this week. The last thing I would say is it's okay, again, to disrespect. I'm sorry, not disrespect, disagree. It's okay to disagree with others. In fact, Dave and I disagree on some things. Every now and then we'll disagree on something. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a good friend, a close friend, somebody meeting on the street. Just, think about how much better the world would be if we disagreed with respect instead of disagreeing with disrespect and hate and condemnation and shaming. Those are some of the words that I hear often nowadays with this divide and all the racial injustice and things like that going around the world. Disagree, but disagree with respect. Always respect your brothers, respect your sisters, and pray for them. Those would be the big takeaways I would say. And I didn't open in prayer tonight, but I'm going to end in prayer, and I'm going to hope that you'll pray this prayer at some point, or something like this prayer. Maybe not this exact prayer, but pray something of these words this week, and hopefully it'll help you. Hopefully, if you have some hate in your heart, that it'll change it. And hopefully that you'll start to see maybe those that have different opinions in a different light. And not that you don't want to help them see quote your light, right? But pray for them that their views serve them well. Your views serve you well. And disagree with respect. It's okay to disagree, but disagree with respect. So I'm going to end it tonight. I appreciate Dave. I appreciate you jumping on, man. I know you're not feeling well. Dylan, of course, my wife's in the other room. And hopefully anybody that watches the recording of this, again, if you take me up on that prayer this week, that you'll reach out to us, reach out to me, send us a message on Facebook, and just let us know what you're feeling, how you're feeling through that. Yeah, man. All the time, dude. Appreciate you. So I'm just going to pray. I'm going to pray kind of a prayer for me, but a prayer for us. And I'm going to close it down tonight. We will see you back in full force next week as we do another devotional. Dave and I will be back. I don't know if Nate will be with us. And we are heading into the whitetail season. I will be out, I think, next Saturday afternoon, maybe, for my first whitetail hunt in Texas here of the year. I actually got out this weekend for early teal duck. Did not get any ducks, but it's a whole nother story. But I did get to see an awesome sunrise. But anyway, hope you guys have a great week. I'm going to pray and close this down and send us off. Lord, just so thankful tonight that you were able to provide this opportunity. I pray that, myself personally, I pray that you just continue to work on my heart and to give me peace with those that might not have the same views that I do, whether it's political or business or whatever it might be, that I continue to lean on you and use your strength and not my own. Because I know that my strength is weak compared to you, and it can never be as strong as using you to change my heart and to change our hearts as we look at those that we might have enemies or have had enemies in the past or have hate for because of certain things they've done to us or certain things they've said to us. We just pray that tonight and ongoing that we continue to lean on you, and that this unjust in our country and this divide in our country is the only answer to solving it is through you. And we hope that more lean on you. And I'm just so thankful that got a chance to worship today in our church with our church family, and that continues. And again, just pray over those that are struggling with hate and struggling with divide. And we just pray that they're able to see the things that are fueling those thoughts, and that they direct, and then they turn those things off and direct that attention and that focus on you and not on those things of this world like social media and the news. And Lord, we just pray that that you show them that you are the way to deal with those that we might not agree with. And I also pray that you just teach us that it's okay to disagree, Lord, but that disagreeing respectfully, and that we can have disagreements. And as we head into this even more turbulent political election in November, that you would just teach our country to learn how to respect each other again, and be okay to disagree, but to do it respectfully and to love others like you want us to love others, Lord. And we just pray that whatever you have for Rooted over the next couple of weeks, that you just continue to provide and show us your will, whether that's through devotionals or through messages through our hunting this year, that you just continue to show us the light and that we continue to follow, Lord. And pray for Dave, and hopefully he feels better soon, and pray for Nate as he travels back to Tennessee. And again, we're just so thankful for this opportunity, and we just pray that you continue to bless us with that. In your name we pray. Amen. All right. So I will see you guys next week with Dave, and I'm not sure with Nate yet. We'll see what he has to do. But guys, have a great week. Remember, if you are working on praying for those that are enemies and those that you hate, would love to hear how that's working. I'm going to work on that this week, and just continue to lean on him. And we'll see you next week. Have a great week.